newly released 911 calls in the string of Raleigh shootings.
So I was just in a meeting and then I heard like a big explosion.
How close a local woman says a bullet came to hitting her. Plus, WRAL Investigates explains how police used the cell phone of the NC State student charged to track him down. And breaking news, we're live at a possible road rage shooting on I-40.
It's the final days of the 80s, where temperatures are heading. Plus, Futurecast shows rain chances for part of our holiday weekend.
Wow, good to have you with us. We have so much new information today that we need to talk about in this string of shootings in Raleigh. Thanks for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Haggerty. The suspect, Andrew Graney, was in court today. We learned a lot of things. We learned he was an NC State student. We learned his cell phone was a big part of how investigators caught up to him. And WRAL obtained 911 calls from a few of those 12 shootings that happened this week. We're going to unpack all of these things for you tonight, but let's start with that court appearance. Graney faces 1 assault charge and 11 counts of firing a weapon at a dwelling or vehicle. He was given no bond, so he's staying in jail. The charges mean he faces mandatory prison time. Arrest records show that officers matched shell casings at those shooting scenes to a gun they found at Graney's property. Let's talk a little more about those shooting scenes specifically that we have seen pop up over the last 4 days. WRAL's Carly Haynes has some more details on that. Carly.
Well, Dan, we received some 911 calls, and those calls led us to this complex on Shire Lane. When we got here, we saw a bullet hole evidence marker clear as day right next to this window, and we spoke with the person who was inside this home. She said she was sitting at this chair at the time the bullet came flying through her apartment.
Did you see anything, like any people outside or
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I work from home, so I was just in a meeting and then I heard like a big explosion, but then I'm like seeing a hole through, so I didn't even really realize what happened.
The bullet missed her by just inches, flying right over her head. And judging by the angle, it looked like it came from the road right outside. At the time it happened, she hadn't heard about the I-40 shootings around the area, so she had no idea what was going on.
I was just like, I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know if they're shooting some more. So I went to my bedroom and I called the police from there. I was afraid that there were more. That was my main concern, that it was like ongoing firing.
And she took this photo of the bullet that landed in the corner of her kitchen before forensics took it as evidence. And we've been going around to all of these different scenes, all of these different homes that were hit, and we found that all of them are just within 5 minutes of one another. Carly Haynes, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
My goodness, Carly, thank you for that report. How frightening. So sources are telling WRAL the key to cracking this case was Graney's cell phone. WRAL Investigates Sarah Kruger explains what she learned about the impressive technology police use that led them to their suspect.
What we've learned from sources is that police had no idea who was behind this. No suspect description, no car description. And it was cell phone tower data linking Graney's locations to the crime scenes that cracked this case.
For 4 days, police were stumped about who was shooting cars and homes in southwest Raleigh, until sources say cell phone tower analysis helped lead them to NC State student Andrew Graney.
What the police did was brilliant.
Ben Leviton specializes in cell phone records analysis, often serving as an expert witness in criminal cases. He explains that even before police have a phone number or suspect identified, they can search cell phone towers for commonalities to see whose phone was in the area of the shooting incidents. Sources tell us that's what happened here. A search warrant taken out Thursday by police states that cell phone tower data showed Graney in the area of at least 5 of the shootings.
It's circumstantial, but it's very good circumstantial evidence. I think it's a very, very strong circumstantial case.
Does the technology still amaze you too?
Oh, Lord, yes.
Former Wake Sheriff Donnie Harrison says the capabilities of technology are incredible, but in all situations, including ones like this, there needs to be old-fashioned police work too. It requires a court order to get cell phone records after all.
I don't want people to think we can just go out there and pick a towers and we're going to see who's going to this tower and that tower. No, we've got to have the information.
Sarah Kruger, WRAL News, Raleigh.
So who is this person? What more do we know about this Andrew Graney? So we know that he was a senior at NC State. He was majoring in anthropology. He's from High Point, where he was very involved in theater. Those who knew him say that they don't remember him as he appears today, more like he appears in these photos. They were stunned to learn that he's being connected to these shootings. WRAL also speaking exclusively with Andrew Graney's mother just this morning. Trika Graney says that the man in the mugshot accused of these crimes is not the son she knows. Graney said that the last time she spoke to her son was over the summer, but hasn't talked to him much since then.
My kids were never allowed to play with guns, not water guns, stick guns, anything dealing with a gun. It was absolutely not allowed. It just makes me fall on my knees and cry.
She went on to tell us that her son was also an Eagle Scout and a straight-A student. She says that this is totally out of character for him. You can find all of our reporting from this entire week, including those moments officers took Graney into custody and what else officers found when searching his home. All of it on WRAL.com. So honestly, what's going on with I-40 this week? Johnston County deputies investigating right now after someone called saying a person was shooting at them. Again, another situation like that on I-40, if you can believe it. Sky 5 flying over the scene. This is near Highway 210. No cars were hit. Nobody was hurt, but a witness says there was a child in the back seat during this altercation. WRAL's Willie Danley live at the scene tonight. Witnesses say, Willie, that this stemmed possibly from a road rage situation.
Yes, they do, Dan. It's actually pretty scary. I'm standing right here. That's exit 306 behind me. That's where this apparent road rage incident occurred. Take a look at this video. This is what Sky 5 saw when they flew above the scene here on I-40. According to the Johnston County Sheriff's Office, they responded to reports of shots fired. Eyewitnesses tell officers that shots were fired at a car with a child on board. Luckily, no one was shot and no property was damaged in this. State troopers attempted to stop the driver who allegedly fired those shots, but at some point they lost the vehicle on I-40. Take a listen to this. This is what police heard when the call went out.
114 CA, attention Johnson County car, 1063. 1063 on I-40 westbound at the 318 going into Wake County. However, it's a gray Ford Expedition. The small white SUV actively shooting at the caller. A small white SUV actively shooting. 01 shooting at the caller.
It's a very scary situation to be in. I've spoken to people here in Johnston County, and they tell us that no dispute on the road is worth losing your life, especially in light of everything that's happened over this past week on I-40. They're telling me that they're going to be a lot more cautious on the roads. In Johnston County, Willie Danley, WRAL News.
You bet, Willie. Thank you so much. So I don't need to tell you, it's been unseasonably warm this week, but that is about to change. Kat, we're looking at a bit of a cool down coming up.
We are, and today was our 5th day in the 80s, so it's finally going to feel more like fall and November. That actually broke the record today. We had 81 and ties the record for the most 80-degree days in November, and we're only in the 7th day or the 8th day of the month. Fall feel comes not just with our highs, but with our lows. We're going to be back in the 40s here pretty soon. High temperatures this weekend will be in the upper 60s. A bit more sun tomorrow compared to what we'll see on Sunday. Sunday comes with a small chance for rain, but that chance really holds off until later Sunday night. So outdoor plans for the most part should be in pretty good shape this weekend, especially tomorrow. It's going to be a lot less humid all around, a beautiful fall day. After high temperatures in the 80s, breaking some records today, the 40s are going to come as a shock. I'll have a closer look at how long we spend with lows in the 40s coming up.
All right, Kat, thanks very much. This is Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center with an update on a traffic alert that we've been following now for a couple of hours. I want to take you to that live camera out here in eastern Wake County. This is I-87 right around the Green Pace Road Bridge area. We've seen some huge backups all evening long on 64 in both directions because of a crash on 64 westbound just before you get to Lizard Lick Road. You can still see some activity there in the median, but the good news is it looks like things are starting to ease up just a little bit. I'll show you that live map with the sensor data and what was a 5-mile long backup on 64 eastbound from 64 Business all the way out toward Lizard Lick Road. Again, seems to be easing. A little bit of a backup there, leaving Zebulon, heading back to Wendell, but it should start to clear here over the next 20 minutes or so.
All right, Brian, sounds good. Thank you. So new leadership in the White House and new leadership in the governor's mansion. North Carolinians split the ticket this year, voting for a Republican president and a Democratic governor. Up next, we're going to hear from one of Josh Stein's senior advisors to talk about how we got here. Welcome back. And next year, the U.S. will have a new president. In North Carolina, we'll have a new governor. Two politicians from two different parties. This year, North Carolinians split the ticket up and down the ballot. And this week, WRAL's Ashley Rowe spoke to Josh Stein's campaign strategists about all of it. With new leadership on the way, we wanted to better understand how we got here and what's ahead.
Joining me now is Morgan Jackson, a campaign consultant and senior advisor to Josh Stein, North Carolina's governor-elect. Firstly, thank you for being here.
Hey, great to be with you.
This race was pretty close back in March. Our WRAL poll back then had Stein and Robinson within a couple points of each other. In the end, Stein won by double digits. So a lot happened in 8 months. We know that, right? We've heard the stories about Robinson, seen all the attack ads. How much of this win is about Robinson and how much is about Stein?
Well, listen, I think in any election, it's about both. It's not an either or question. And I would tell you that, you know, one of the things that we worked very hard to do in the Attorney General's Josh Stein's race, in the gubernatorial race, that is to lay out a positive vision for North Carolina's future for Josh Stein and for its citizens. And I think the positive vision for a safer and stronger North Carolina was clearly something that voters in North Carolina wanted to see, and they rejected the politics of division and disrespect that Mark Robinson brought to this race.
Yeah. You have been involved in a number of successful campaigns over the course of your career, and you have stayed with those successful candidates in their administration. So I'm curious to get your perspective. What will the transition for Stein to governor look like?
Listen, the transitions are always a process. It's a learning process. It's a getting your infrastructure in place, getting staffing in place, but also getting your priorities in place. Job one. The top priority on day one, job one, is to help Western North Carolina rebuild, to help our citizens recover and rebuild from a 1,000-year storm. He talked a lot about public education and how we strengthen our schools and how we keep creating the good paying jobs that are helping our state grow, and not just in urban North Carolina, but also in rural North Carolina.
For the third election in a row, North Carolina elected a Democratic governor and a Republican president. It stands to reason that many people voted for Stein and Trump. What do you make of this?
I think there's a lot of truth to that, and we've seen that happen the last several cycles. I mean, listen, it was an absolutely difficult evening last night at the national level. You saw Donald Trump, and I believe what's been called today is basically all 7 battlegrounds have gone to Trump. So what we saw was a national tide that really dictated the presidential race. But I got to tell you, one of the things that I'm really proud of is not only the governor's election last night in electing Josh Stein as the next governor of North Carolina, but North Carolina once again, and this happened in 2016 and in 2020, was one of the few bright spots for Democrats nationally in a dark night that was really disappointing nationally. In North Carolina, we successfully rejected extreme Republican candidates for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and superintendent of public instruction. We successfully held Don Davis's congressional seat, one of the top congressional challenges across the nation that a lot of folks thought we were not going to win. We were able to hold that seat. And most importantly, we broke the supermajority in the North Carolina House, which will allow Josh Stein a real opportunity to govern and work with this legislature and give him leverage to push positive public policy forward and keep us from fighting these culture wars that send our state backwards.
Morgan Jackson, thank you again for your time and congratulations on your successful run with the Josh Stein campaign, now our governor-elect.
Thanks so much.
Election day has come and gone, and all those ads have gone with it. It's kind of nice. So, Kat Campbell joining us now as we look forward to the weekend. It has been so warm and so dry.
And, you know, it's not going to be as warm this weekend, but it's still going to be really nice. So we got rid of some of those ads. We can get to the nice fall weather now. And it's not going to be so humid. I mean, boy, it felt humid out today. It's pretty rare in November to see dew points in the mid 60s. You know, that feels a lot more like early September. Still 72 degrees past sunset on a Friday night in November. Definitely not bad. North Hills, it's a really nice night out there. But we've got cooler mornings in sight. So you're going to need, you know, the sweaters back again soon, at least dressing in layers. 42 is our normal low this time of year. We still never get that low on our 7-day forecast, but we get a lot closer. We're going to be down to 50 tomorrow morning, 46 Sunday morning. Temperatures go up a little early next week, and then we'll see them back in the 40s for the end of next week for quite a few days in a row. But this weekend, it looks pretty nice. 68 tomorrow, partly cloudy. The clouds are just those thin upper level clouds that are kind of wispy, so it's still going to be very bright outside. 68 on Sunday. The clouds really fill in, though, on Sunday. So tomorrow, if I had to choose, would be the better of the 2 weekend days. Both look pretty good, and rain chances on Sunday start to ramp up later on at night. It looks like chances really wouldn't arrive until after sunset, though. You can check in over the weekend with meteorologist Chris Michaels and Anthony Baglione for updates on this. But I'm thinking it would be pretty late on Sunday night that we've got rain chances that would linger into Monday for Veterans Day as well. We've got an upper level low here, Rafael, which has weekend no longer a threat to the U.S. or Mexico, and then a front to our north. We're kind of wedged in between all three. High pressure is going to be in control tomorrow up until a cold front approaches from our west. And this is the system that will bring that chance for rain Sunday night into Veterans Day on Monday. So it could be a bit unsettled for the holiday. Just keep that in mind if you have any kind of outdoor ceremonies or anything like that happening. The second half of the day looks better and drier than the first half of the day. Doesn't look like a ton of rain, though. It's looking like a quarter of an inch or less for rainfall. So this isn't very impressive in terms of watering your grass or anything like that, or grass seed, but it's better than nothing. And we could use any rain we could get with the growing drought and abnormally dry conditions across our state. Your fresh air forecast looking great tomorrow morning, 50 degrees at 7 a.m. By noon, 64 degrees. Boy, it's going to be beautiful outside, especially if you're in the sun during the afternoon. That 68 is going to feel pretty warm in direct sunlight. Dinner time temperatures dip back into the 50s. So if you have Saturday night reservations and you're sitting outside, bring a jacket or just bring one into the restaurant with you too. Over the next 7 days, we see temperatures go down a little bit over the weekend. The warmest day is 74 on Monday and no more 80s on our 7-day forecast by the end of next week. That's going to be the coolest weather. We dip down into the 40s for lows again. No 30s showing up on our 7-day forecast still. And we've already surpassed our average first freeze by over a week. Dan.
I was thinking about that too, looking, when am I covering the pipes? Kat will let us know. Thank you, Kat. So for the second year in a row now, Raleigh won't hold its Veterans Day parade. So tonight we thought, let's go into the WRAL archive and celebrate our nation's service members. That story's right after the break. But first, as we gear you up for the weekend, here are a few things happening around our area in this week's Out and About. Hey, welcome back. Something we want to tell you about that's pretty cool. WRAL and Fox 50 will be partnering with the Carolina Hurricanes to broadcast 2 live games during Thanksgiving week. The first one on Monday, November 25th at 7 p.m. on Fox 50. The second on Friday, November 29th at Wednesday, 3 p.m. on WRAL. Pre-game coverage on FanDuel Sports Network will begin 30 minutes prior to puck drop. Check it out. So Monday is Veterans Day, of course, the day that we honor the men and women who serve in the American Armed Forces. Raleigh won't have its Veterans Day parade this year, so instead tonight we thought we'd go into the WRAL archive to find a classic story covering the parade and the people it's meant to honor. Thanks for making WRAL your choice for local news. Have a great weekend as we leave you with this, your Friday moment of nostalgia.
Sights and sounds of a Veterans Day observance. It's a remembrance that veterans are desperately trying to hold on to.
Because so many have given so much to protect our freedom and to keep this country great. And we ought never to forget that. It's great to see all these school children here, especially observing this holiday.
Phil Heller brought his 2 sons out today. For him, remembering those who fought for our freedom is something he wants to pass on to the next generation.
I know what my dad did, and I hope my children won't have to go through what he did in World War II, and I want them to know their heritage and learn their history. As they grow up and they study history in school, they'll learn it and they'll respect it and respect the Constitution and appreciate how lucky we are to live here.